You have questions. I may have answers. I also may have theories. With that being said, let's bring Hawkeye into this mix and let's get started with this breakdown. How do you do, G-Pod crew? It's your Nutty Buddy Puddy here, and today we're going to be talking about Hawkeye, Episode 4, called Partners. Am I right? And today we're going to be deep diving into what might be very little information, but very, very deep information that could unravel a deeper story within the criminal underground in the MCU that, to this day, I was always hoping a certain character would be running. But before we get started with this breakdown, I need to ask you to do me just one itty-bitty favor. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really helps if you do like this breakdown and I'm able to give you the information that you've been seeking when it comes to Hawkeye and the series in general. Now, this episode was amazing, and I do go through the breakdown of Easter eggs and then go into my final thoughts at the end. So let's just go ahead and get started with those simple little Easter eggs or connections to the comic book, and then go from there. Now, for our first Easter egg, we have the boomerang arrow that Kate Bishop mentions. Now, the reason I bring this up is because there is one crucial moment in the comic book where a boomerang arrow comes into play, and it's actually the last arrow that Kate Bishop uses in Hawkeye's arsenal, but then we don't see it actually in this episode at the crucial part of the chase, or when they're in the vehicle. That's because, well, it was a really bizarre arrow, and she even brings it up in the comic book as being something that she didn't think would be useful. But then, of course, in the comic books, it becomes very useful and boomerangs it back to the behind him. So one of two things is going to happen. They're changing things, and the boomerang arrow is going to come into play maybe in the last episode. And then so this part here where the boomerang arrow does come back is going to play a crucial part, kind of like it does in this issue of the comic book. Or it's going to be something that's just going to, I don't know, just be a joke for those that read the comic book. An inside joke, if you know what I mean. Anyway, let's continue. Now we get to the point where Hawkeye, aka Clint Barton, is talking about the shot he didn't take that he's explaining to Kate Bishop. Now, for those that may be a little bit confused on what he's referring to, he is referring to the shot that he was supposed to take to kill Natasha, but then changed his mind, and it was because he was going to be an assassin and kill Natasha, which also in return made her change her life of opinions and become part of S.H.I.E.L.D. But in the comic books, it's quite different. Hawkeye becomes enamored with Natasha and has always wanted to be a hero instead of the assassin you see in the MCU. Natasha actually manipulates him, and he becomes really, really, really enamored with her, but then is actually able to change or sway her in a different way, kind of like they do in the MCU, but in the MCU he is playing a bad character, where in this he's actually already wanting to be an Avenger, wanting to be a good character. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Yelena Belova. Now, if you don't remember, Yelena Belova is actually in the Black Widow movie, and she is a Black Widow herself, part of the Red Room. But this has to do with the end screen credits. So I'm going to explain something that if you haven't seen Black Widow, you definitely need to go and watch it, because it's going to link up to this series, and it's available on Disney Plus. Watch that now, then come back. I don't know how you're watching this and not seen Black Widow. So, if you remember at the end of the movie, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, the name that's crazy to say, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, hires Yelena to actually go after Hawkeye at the end credits. And Yelena first appeared in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which unfortunately she's actually supposed to appear in Black Widow, but then because of COVID it all changed things. It's a crazy mixed up world, but it still works. Now they're hunting her down, which makes me think exactly what I thought before. Yelena is actually working for the bad guys. Now, my whole theory on this is that Kingpin here in Marvel's Daredevil on Netflix is actually the kingpin of it all, and Allegra might be working for her, who hired Yelena, and everything is being set up in the dark, just like I've always wanted when it came to Kingpin. I think Marvel is bringing Kingpin in a big way, and he has way more control now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe than he ever did before. This is a huge part of what I think they're doing. It is weird because Netflix still has Daredevil, but it is still part of the Marvel canon, or at least I think it is, based on this and based on what we've seen before. So I think Kingpin is in control of Allegra DeFontaine, and Allegra DeFontaine has Yelena working for her to go after Hawkeye. I love Hawkeye series so much right now, and it's just getting deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. So, based on my theory, Kingpin runs it all. Allegra works for Kingpin. Allegra, hi Yelena. Black Widows are now involved in taking down Hawkeye because of his past as Ronin. But this also means that Kingpin has a deeper connection to the underground world of the MCU's criminal masterminds, which means we can now start bringing Kingpin more and more into the MCU and actually have a solid story. But then, if you remember, I talked in episode 1, 2, and 3 about how eventually, well, I'll say episode 3, honestly, that Kingpin is involved, which also means that Matt Murdock might be involved, which connects them all back to Spider-Man. Kingpin has an underground world that's huge, and I think what's happening here is that we are going to find more and more connections to where maybe after this new Spider-Man movie, things are going to split off. Sony will have their Spider-Man, Marvel could use Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and they can start making a connection with the Kingpin, and possibly even maybe let them use Kingpin within the Spider-Man universe. Though I think it is changing dramatically a lot, especially with all the other movies that are coming out that are connected to the Sinister Six and other bad guys connected to the Spider-Man universe. So things are a little crazy, guys. And how they're all going to intertwine is going to be crazy as well. But that also has to do with some theories I have when it comes to the new Spider-Man movie coming out that actually have nothing to do with Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire being Spider-Man. They actually have to do with X-Men and Daredevil. I know, that's crazy. But I guess that means you're going to have to watch my review for Spider-Man No Way Home and see if I'm correct on what I'm theorizing when it comes to the broader sense of the MCU when it comes to Kingpin, Daredevil, and yes, X-Men and Fantastic Four. Things are starting to break apart, but then in my eyes start to piece together to make something cohesive and special. The multiverse is starting to bleed in, and we're taking other universes like, again, the Netflix series into account as well. I can't wait to see what happens. I hope you guys are excited as well. Again, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you really enjoyed this breakdown, and if you're excited to see what's going to happen next Thursday in Hawkeye. And after that, literally after that, I will be doing my review of Spider-Man No Way Home. So next week, next Thursday, guys, is a major Marvel double feature here on my channel. I can't wait. I can't wait for you guys to be a part of that, and I can't wait to see everyone's reaction when the MCU starts to blow up right in front of our faces. With that being said, I am Putty. Thank you for watching Hawkeye Episode 4. Breakdown, review, however you want to look at it. And I'll see you guys next week for Episode 5.